What's happening YouTube? It's Simon 466 Cards, and today we're going to talk about repacks and more specifically the rise in the popularity of repacks over the last 6 months to a year or so. Repacks have been around for a long time, but it seems like the last year it's dramatically increased in popularity and how much of the market that it feeds into. Friend of the channel, Sports Card Dad, Dustin, he's made a few videos on repacks over the last 6 months or so. Neo Cards and Comic has done a great job breaking down the impact of repacks in the sports cards market and also the entire ecosystem that is the sports card market. He's really opened my eyes as to how important repacks are, so feel free to go to their channels to understand repacks and repack products more. The thing I want to talk about today is, well, how did we get here to a place where repack products are so prominent in the hobby? Before, I feel like it wasn't really a thing, and now it's a really big driving force of the market. So the first we want to talk about to answer this question of how did we get here is, well, why are people making repack products? Why are there repackers at all? And I'm going to talk a little bit here about a YouTuber called James Cards FC. He made a great video, which I will link to in the description below. He calculated the profit of a repack from Card Collector 2, who we all know has a big following on Instagram, YouTube. You know, Ryan seems like a very nice guy, but in going through the numbers of how much money that Card Collector 2 makes from a repack, it was a lot. Right, I'm not going to go into the details. Again, watch James's video. It's really great, but it's really profitable to make a repack. And so that's why the repackers are doing it. So that explains the supply side. The other question then is, as you know, I'm an economics guy, demand. Why are people buying into repacks? If we break down James's numbers from the Card Collector 2 repack, you could see the average value that you would get from this specific repack he looked into, it was $475. The price to buy into this repack product was $560, so your expected return is 85%, which means your ROI is minus 15%, which obviously does not sound good. Before I continue any further, I just want to note this is from the Card Collector 2 repack, which I'm going to say is a reputable person. He's obviously well known in the hobby, has a great reputation. But there are other repacks out there, and my whole thing for you when we talk about repacks is, if you're buying into one, make sure to research them to see if their advertised, numbers, their claims, their average values, their floors, their ceilings, they're all reliable, and nobody's monkeying around with those numbers, right? Because I do understand that does exist out there among, I guess, what I'm going to call sketchy repack products, right? So make sure you look into those numbers. Going back to this, we're talking about Card Collector 2. I'm going to take the numbers listed from James' video at face value. They were advertised, average value, ceiling, floor, buy-in, and so we're going to take this as is, right? So looking at the numbers, a minus 15% ROI is not very good in a vacuum, but in the hobby, let's take a look at what opening wax or buying into a break would be. I made a video a few months back about the probability of breaking even when you buy Panini 101 basketball, and I calculated it out to be 17%. I recently made a video about flawless basketball, and I calculated the expected return to be 30 to 40%, which means you lose about 65% when you buy into a break for Panini Flawless. And so if you compare those numbers together and compare the experiences together, here's what you find, right? The expected return is way better on a repack. You might lose 15% of your money, but that's still better than losing 60 to 70% of your money. And the important part here is the experience, because for a lot of breakers, they're now just opening repacks on their live streams, whether it's Whatnot, Fanatics Live, TikTok, whatever it is. So it's the same people opening a pack of product on camera. So the experience is exactly the same. And if that's the same, then you're obviously going to not use or buy into the thing that will kill you a large majority of the time. You're going to go into a repack product that has much better ROI. And that's really the difference, because if you control for the experience, which again, buying into the break and buying into the repack of the exact same channel or influencer or whoever's running these things, the experience is the same. We've controlled for all the variables other than the ROI. And so that's why people are buying into repacks. That's why it's becoming this important thing in the hobby. It's because buying into breaks or ripping wax is awful in terms of an ROI, and repacks are significantly less awful, even though it's not good. And so that's where you get into a situation where we are now. Repackers are making money hand over fist, and yet it's still the best bang for your buck as a consumer, as someone trying to get cards and buy cards in the hobby. If you want that ripping or wax type experience, the ROI is not even comparable. Repack, you're losing 15%. Breaking is minus 65%. Like, it's not remotely close. And that's how we got here to the situation where repacks are all the rage. To me, it's purely about the numbers. You get skunked often in breaks or ripping wax. At least you have a chance to do decently well in repacks, and that's kind of where we are. So that's the video. Would love to hear your comments and thoughts. Do you agree with my theory here that basically it's the same people ripping different types of products? You might as well rip a product that you don't get killed on, and that's why repacks are a thing. Again, would love to hear your comments and thoughts below. Next time on the channel, we're going to talk about the wrong way to use pop counts. And this does happen quite a bit. I found it happening in a very influential Instagram account. And so I'm going to talk about that on my next video. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. I will talk to you all soon. Cheers.